Get around the corner so I don't bump into somebody. Oh, look, it's Matt. I'm Matt. I'm a mountain leader, gear nerd, and I am prepping to walk the Coast to Coast path. I retired from the fire service 6 years ago, and when I retired I was going to do two things. First one was grow a beard. Not allowed a beard, you see, you have to wear a mask. And the second one was walk the Coast to Coast. The beard lasted about 5 weeks. I've no idea how people do that. That had to go. Especially when the wife's telling me I look like somebody who'll have been living under a bridge. I don't grow a neat beard. And then the second one obviously was walk the Coast to Coast, and so I haven't done either. So we're going to prep for it. We're not just going to turn up and do it. We're going to prep for the Coast to Coast. Hopefully that's what you're here for. And then when we've done the Coast to Coast, well, we'll just keep going, won't we? Well, we're out. I mean, it's raining obviously. I mean, it would be after all the fantastic weather we've had, but we're out. We're out, we're in the Yorkshire Wolds. Oh dear, did he just not need that one, do you think? Maybe just took that one off. Let's have a look round, see if there's a one-winged bird flying around in circles. There's something quite special about it, I think, and I like a linear route. I like the idea you're travelling, you're going from A to B. I'm here. I mean, you know, what better path is there than that in the UK? With that, walking from one side of the country to the other, dipping your feet in the sea, point your nose east, I'll see you in 10 days. And then you're just following it all the way east. Standing in the sea at Robin Hood's Bay. What's not to like? Still haven't done it. So hopefully what you're here to do is here to join me while I prepare for it. Because I'm not just going to rock up and do it. Could you? Yeah, probably. 182 miles or whatever, it'll be a bit more than that because you'll bob off to go to a shop or you'll get lost. I won't get lost, he said. You'll go and see a waterfall, you'll follow a trail, you'll do whatever. So it's about 180, 190 miles. I'm not planning on poring over the maps before I go, you know, drawing the route with the yellow highlighter, you know, and being that prescriptive. This is the route and this is what I'm following. I'll put the graphic over now of so my plan is to use the graphic on the Wainwright wall, I think it's called, which just says, you know, St. Bees at one end, Robin Hood's Bay at the other, and then a load of points across the middle. Well, that's my plan, that's my route. I plan on mapping all of the points that I mentioned on that Wainwright's wall, and then using a map. Imagine such a thing. Using a map to navigate from one to the other, because I might change my mind. Not of completing it, but I might change my mind. There might be a better route. I might want to go and see something. The object of this walk is to reconnect with it again, in the preparation and the walk. Reconnect with the outdoors, spend a bit of time for myself, do what I think is quite a special walk because of the symbology or whatever, if you like, of it. You know, you're walking across the entire width of the country. So that's another reason why I don't plan on just drawing a line across with a yellow pen and saying this is exactly where I'm going, because you've sort of done the route before you set off almost. You're not leaving yourself any scope to explore and go off, because you're thinking, no, this is the route, this is where I've got to be. I've set a time based on this route, and suddenly it becomes some sort of challenge, or it becomes, I don't know, it has a timetable, and I don't want it to have a timetable. I mean, I'm not planning on walking it for the next 3 years. You know, I plan on getting around it in 10 days. I'll give myself 10 days to do it. If it takes 12, well, then it takes 12. If it takes 9, happy days. I'll just go home a day early. I think it'll be sort of 9.5, 10 days. You know, 15, 20 miles a day. Some days you might crack on a bit more, because you might be thinking, oh, do you know what, I fancy bed and breakfast tonight rather than my tent, because I don't plan on camping across it. So I'm going to carry on because there's a village or a pub or whatever. So that's why. We'll have a bit of a kit check today as well. It's raining. I don't know if you'll be picking that up, but it is raining. All the brilliant weather we've had. Anyway, Paramore Adventure Valise Smock. I really rate them. can't believe I'm going to say this. We used to get into it all the time, me and a kid I used to work with, about Gore-Tex and Paramore. I have to say this is my go-to jacket. It runs a bit warm is what I would say, because of the layers, because of this Nikwax system, but bomb-proof. And we'll talk about kit obviously as we're going along, because you know, why else are we here? This would be my go-to jacket. It's waterproof, it's windproof. The thing with any kit, no matter what it is, whether it's sleeping bags, whether it's tents, waterproofs, cooking kit, navigation, anything, cameras. We are currently filming you on a GoPro Hero 13 Black with a medium mod on, so you can hear me. I'm having to redo some of it because what I found was, when you turn the camera around like this to film the dog, nobody can hear what I'm saying because the microphone's pacing away from me. What I said there was, when you turn the camera around with the medium mod on, which I didn't realise when I'd filmed some content the other day, was nobody can hear you because this is the way that the microphone's facing. So we're having to film some of it again. Oh, not film some of it again, we're just having to, so we're having to do a little bit more because a lot of the stuff that I was filming the other day, there's no audio on it, it's rubbish, it all sounds like that example that I've just given you there. The production values won't improve. I'm filming it on a GoPro Hero 13 Black on a stick. It's not going to get any better than that. The level of conversation will also be mostly nonsense. That's not going to get much better either, but there you go. You're in now. So kit. So this should be my go-to jacket. Because, like I said, in relation to all kit, no matter what it is, cooking kit, waterproof, sleeping kit, tents, boots, anything, the one word of all of it, the most important word, compromise. You will always have some element of compromise. So we're up on the top. This is South Cave. The South Cave village is over there. We're on the Drooton estate. That's the High Hunsley. Which way's my arm going? That's the High Hunsley mast up there. So that's where we are at the minute. And I just stopped here interestingly because if you look on your OS maps for this area, in this hedgerow here, probably about here somewhere, there's a trig point, but it's not part of the path. This is the path, look, there's the path. The path runs there. It's not part of the public footpath, but yeah, there's a trig point there. And then actually, if we head back across the other side, where the other, what? You're barking at clouds, brilliant. If we head back across the other side, my dog's barking at clouds or something, I've no idea what he's up to. What are you doing? Thank you. If you head over the other side, up near the other mast at the top of Weedley Spout Hill, as we would call it if you're local, there's another one over there, again not on a public footpath. So yeah, there's the two trig points that you would, you know, expect to find on top of Scarfell or whatever, and there's one there on the Drooton estate in a hedge. There we go. And that's kind of part of the problem really, is I've said earlier, you know, there's the thing, it's a trig point, it's in the hedge, it's in the field, it's not on the path. So what do people do? Rip the fence down and create their own path, which my dog's obviously trying now. Kind of gives us all a bit of a bad name, that hanging your poo in a tree, you know, for the poo fairies that are going to come around and pick it up, and leaving litter. I mean, come on, it's not hard. So yeah, that's that pretty miserable fast stretch of road there across High Hunsley. So dog on his lead and you're walking on a fairly narrow grass verge, so not a lot of filming on that, but you got the idea. It's a pretty quick road that as well, but it isn't far. You know, it's a few hundred metres and then you're back onto this track again. So we'll follow this. We're back into the Drooton estate. Well, never left it really, to be fair. So and then we'll follow this back down. This walk, it's like a bit of a figure eight that we've done today. It's just a lovely walk. Lovely walk in the Yorkshire Wolds. While we're on with kit as well, Phoenix 6. I mean, that's what you'll start to notice here with a lot of my kit, and some of it I'll have to start replacing because better stuff's available now. You know, it moves on. Some of it's quite old. I mean, I bought the Phoenix 6. I mean, I don't even know what we're on now, Phoenix 35 or whatever. but it still works. I can still get a GPX track across to it and all of that. So I've loaded one onto it today, so I'm having a little bit of a practice with it again, because you know, there's a lot of buttons. They're not quite as intuitive as an Apple Watch, for instance, but then again, they last a lot longer. They're a lot more functional in relation to a fitness watch than Apple, you know, for that. So yeah, well, the Phoenix 6, we'll do wider pieces on navigation, you know, the pros and cons. One of the things, I used to have this discussion with a guy when I was doing my mountain leaders, is that they don't include any technology in the Mountain Leaders Award, and I think they should now. You know, like the driving test, you know, it includes things about, you know, using a sat nav and things like that now, you know, and so it should, because, you know, that's how people drive now. I'm not suggesting the Mountain Leaders needs to go to the point of, you know, turn up, pick your GPS up and, you know, follow them paths, because if you get into the Mountain Leaders Award, you'll realise when it comes to navigation, it's a step above anything you've ever done before. You know, it doesn't concentrate on paths and major catch points. It concentrates on, you know, a slight bend in a contour line at 2 o'clock in the morning when the fog's in, and then your assessor says, right, take me to that squiggle of that contour line, and that's what you need to hit. So yes, you could do that with GPS without a shadow of a doubt, but when your batteries have gone, when the weather's gone, when this is snapped, when everything has gone, and you've got your map and you've got your compass to be able to do that, and it gives you a greater appreciation of terrain, it gives you a greater appreciation of, you know, time and distance and movement over terrain. So I would advocate, if you want to learn to navigate, then learn to navigate. You don't have to learn to the standard of a mountain leader. When I go out on a day, do I navigate to the detail of a mountain leader? No, probably not, because you're going to pick a route that, you know, follows paths because it has good views. You know, there's a reason why that path's there in the first place, or that route, you know, it's because it's a good route. Sometimes you like to get off piste, of course you do, and in those cases, yes, it is handy to be able to, certainly from my point of view, to say, well, I know exactly where I am, I know exactly where I'm going, I know exactly how long it's going to take. But I do think technology nowadays plays a part. We'll do some more stuff. We'll do some more stuff on things like the Phoenix. We'll have a look at those. You know, the app on your phone. I have the Ordnance Survey maps on my phone. I have the subscription. It's a fantastic subscription, because, you know, we go away for the weekend and we go away with friends and bits and pieces, and you'll land in some cottage somewhere and just be able to pick it up and say, oh, there's loads of footpaths up there, look, we can all take the dogs out. I'd urge anybody who's doing any form of walking whatsoever. I think I get mine through the App Store, and it just charges me every year. It's not expensive, and when you consider how much maps are, you know, it's a fantastic subscription. So yeah, I'd urge anybody to get the Ordnance Survey subscription and get out there and do a bit. But navigation particularly, we'll look at navigation in depth, you know, right across. You know, we'll see what other people are doing. You know, how do you do it? Yeah, you know, a lot of it now will be on people's phones, and with power banks and with all of that. Is it leading people into getting into trouble? Who knows? I mean, you know, who's got the stats? So we'll do some more. We'll definitely do plenty of stuff on navigation because of the way we're going to walk the coast to coast, particularly, which is, you know, we're just going to plot those principal routes and then we're going to navigate across it. It's a bit more interesting, for one. And that's how we plan on doing it. But will I use technology? Of course I will. I'll have the cameras there. I'll have my phone on. You know, every now and again you'll just be able to drop on, and it's nice to have a double check. I used to use the GPS as a bit of a double check when I was doing micro nav training for the mountain leaders. You know, I'd pick a squiggly line or a little dot on a map, because you never go into a peak or a junction or something simple like that when you're doing your mountain leaders. You're always going to a ridiculous feature, generally a contour line feature, and taking yourself there. Well, when you haven't got your assessor standing over you saying, yeah, that's right, or no, that's wrong. I used to use the GPS for that, so I would, you know, walk to a point, get there, turn the GPS on. Am I in the right place? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. I must try harder. A lot of navigation is the process, and that's one of the things I've learned over the years. Is, you know, if I'm here and I'm going to a squiggly line on a contour, you know, 1,300 meters that way, and this is the bearing that I'm on, Am I going to walk 1300 metres in that direction and land on that squiggly line? Am I going to use catch features to navigate me, to get me to within maybe 100, 200 metres of it, and then the micro nav, all I've got to do is that final bit. That's how you're going to navigate, innit? You don't drive to London by jumping in the car one day and driving south, do you? You bob along and you pick up all them landmarks as you're going. Less so now with sat nav, but you'll still no doubt recognise things as you're going. It has its purpose, does the Phoenix. So we'll look at technology when we're looking at navigation as well, because everybody's using it, so you know, we need to look at that. I use it to check things. I definitely use it to monitor, you know, how far have I walked today, how hard have I worked, you know, where did I go, to be able to sit down later and nerd out a little bit on your maps as to where I've been, how long it took. At the minute I've got the Phoenix with this route on it and I can actually see the route. Could you do that? Bring yourself out, put it on the watch, not bring anything else, you've never walked here before, and follow it? Yeah, probably. I don't know how long the battery would last. Again, that's what we're trying out today. How long does the battery last when it's using the maximum amount of power? And it won't use any more power than loading a course onto it and then having GPSs and trying to get through the trees and satellites and all of that. It won't use any more power than it will do today on this sort of 3-4 hour walk around the world. So that's another reason why I'm using it in its sort of full on mode, because when it's fully charged it has like 12 days, it'll last 12 days, whereas the Apple Watch, you know, depending on which one you've got, it's 1 day or 2 days at best. I'd say one of the best pieces of advice I could give anybody is, if you're going on doing any sort of walking, you just need time on your feet, because everybody will think, well, I walk around all day at work now. You work at Asda, or work in a factory, or work wherever. I'm a postman, probably not a postman, or lady. And you think, well, I walk around all day at work. But it's not the same. It's not the same as that, facing the same direction, you know, legs and body only moving in quite a limited movement, because it's not very dynamic. You're not sort of running, jumping, leaping, climbing trees. You know, and then, you know, your muscles get used to that over the course of a day, and that's why when you wake up the next day, it's like, oh my God, I can't walk. So that's the thing I would say to everybody, is just make sure you're getting time on your feet if you want to go and do any form of long distance walk, or you want to start getting into hiking. Get some time on your feet. It's important. We're just dropping into this field on the estate, and there's a bit of livestock about, and sometimes this one I'll have a bull in. Could you just turn up and walk it? Yeah, of course you could. Would it be fairly miserable most days? Yeah, probably, especially if you was going to just turn up and walk it and then try and smash around it in sort of 9-10 days. Yeah, it would be pretty miserable, I imagine. Why the coast to coast? I just think it's one of them iconic routes, and when you look at the route itself, when you look at what it is, what are you doing? Well, I'm walking from one side of the country to the other. Admittedly, it's not a massive country, you know, less than 200 miles. You know, we're not talking about walking from Alaska to Florida. But we are still walking the entire width of our country, and I just think that's quite special. You know, you're pointing your nose east and then you're getting on with it. So that's why the coast to coast. But we're going to build up to it. We're going to build up to walking the coast to coast. We're going to get our eye back into the navigation. We're going to get our eye back into the kit. Some of my kit I've had a while. Some of it I want replacing. So we're going to get our eye back into that. We're going to look at the nutrition we might need as we're walking across here. We're just going to look at the absolute benefits of, this is where I am today. I don't know where you are while you sat watching this. Are you sat in the car at the supermarket car park waiting for people to come out because they're shopping? Are you sat on the train? Or are you out walking? And you're going to walk the coast to coast, and so you're watching my prep. Because I'll tell you what, I'm watching yours. Is that how it works? So yeah, that's why the coast to coast. Shh, sleepy.